Hello and welcome back to Conversations by the Sea on this extremely rain. I think it's actually
It's
snowing
snowing here
up
now,
here,
yeah.
which is great in the middle of
And
May.
it's so dark on the camera. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad.
Good old British weather. And on this week's episode, we have Sophie with us.
Yep, we're going to chat to Sophie Cross from every loads of different fingers and so
Yeah.
many different pies, thoughtfully, and Freelancer Magazine and all sorts. How's it going, Sophie?
Hi guys. Yeah, amazing. Thank you. Yeah, we just it's just so nice to talk to you guys, and we haven't actually probably spoken before, have we? And now
No, I think
we're
I've seen
straight
you.
into it.
Yeah, I came to your open launch party for the Kickstarter, which was so nice because you could see like so many people that you haven't like spoken to, just like chilling in their house and stuff. So love that.
I remember that because I hadn't actually drank for over a year, and I drank at that party. For the first time. I'd had like 2 glasses of wine, and it was just such a blur anyway. But like one of the things I remember is, I think maybe about 3/4 of the way through, I logged onto Twitter, and I think you'd done a tweet like that the video made you really emotional.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, that was just so
it was so good. I showed you the video, didn't I? Like with all the faces. It's just so like, I suppose we'll just get straight into the magazine because I think so if you don't know Sophie and has launched what's your designer friend called?
Angela Lyons.
Angela, I've launched Freelancer Magazine, which is a print, like a super high quality glossy print magazine, and I have got it. Oh, it's in the other room. I got the first copy because I signed up on the Kickstarter. So, there you go. Have you got many copies? Just
I have, yeah. You just on the bed, just asleep on them. No, I've got about 30 in the cupboard. But yeah, I'm not doing the distribution, which is, I have to remind myself of little things like when I kind of berate myself for not, outsourcing more. I think this is something I was going to ask you guys about, but like, yeah, congrats on your new employee.
Oh yes,
Lorraine.
Mom has joined us this week, just for one day a week. So she was here yesterday. Today we're just decompressing after.
Yeah, she's pretty poor at computers.
This, Lorraine,
digital literacy.
I'm not sure she watches the podcast.
I think it's a symptom of the time, isn't it? Like, at that age, I think you get left behind a little bit, and the stuff we take for granted.
Yeah, it kind of was in keeping with that episode that we did about like digital confidence and bullying and like older people who can't, who maybe aren't as up to date with computers and then so she's come from a workplace where she's been treated really, really badly for not being able to do simple things, but then they haven't shown how to do those things. So I just had her on stage yesterday, and every time she makes a mistake, she's going, "Stupid woman," and we're like telling her off for calling her stupid. We're saying like, "Come on, like you're not stupid. You're just learning a new thing. Nobody learns a new thing straight away." But I think it's going to take a good few weeks to get out of her system because she's just so down on herself all the time. Like she like presses the wrong button and she panics, and I'm like, it's okay. Like the worst thing you'll do in this business is send an invoice to the wrong person or something. Like, it's not, nothing that you can do that she's going to be touching.
I did that the other day, to be fair.
We all do stupid, like crazy things. I sent a newsletter with the wrong subject line, not for me, but for a client, which was, I mean, if it's for me, I don't really care, but like that was my mistake that I made. So
I mean, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough, really, are you? That's
the thing.
Busy. Yeah.
Also, I don't think you can learn without making mistakes. Like it's a crucial part of like growth as a person. You make a mistake, you learn how to fix it. That's like, you hopefully don't make it as many times again.
I gave a guest lecture. I was asked to guest lecture to some students on freelancing and on a journalism course like a few weeks ago, and I was super excited about it, and I was like dead passionate about doing it. And I created an invoice template, but I just created it off my own invoice template, and then I went to send my invoice to some of our first advertisers for the magazine. And I'd changed some of the details on this invoice template. So I just made up bank account details and I changed like my address a little bit and things like that. And I just sent this invoice to like our biggest advertisers basically. And we're just like, yeah. And then I had to email them the day later and say, I sent you an invoice with fake bank details on it because I was trying to teach students how to be a good freelancer. So
I've all learn.
Yeah,
I suppose that's a good foray, Sophie, and ask like, when you're talking about like lecturing for journalists and stuff like that. Like, what's your background in? Like, how did you get started in this?
So not journalism. God, you know, I think. So my background is really marketing. So I was employed as a hospitality marketer until 8 years ago, and I decided to go freelance. And yeah, just kind of I did what many people do, I suppose, and didn't really know what that looked like. And what, you know, I guess because it was 8 years ago, I really thought it was called thoughtfully social media marketing, because I was just so sure that everyone would just want me to do like social media implementation because it was so big at the time.
Yeah.
And actually I was asked to do some like brand strategy and kind of project management for like rebrands and things like that, which was great. And yeah, just jumped all over the place. And after a few years, the main projects I was being asked to do was like writing and content creation and blogging and web content and articles and like, yeah. So I basically then started doing kind of pure copywriting or marketing copy, because I actually found that a bit easier than the marketing, from the respect that it was like a lot easier to kind of like define your deliverables.
Yeah, that's definitely how we feel.
Yeah. Oh yeah, social can be a mess. Like,
yeah,
especially
and just
if
like
you
haven't got the content, like, you know, if you're not responsible for the content, or that client won't invest in content, and then you've like got to deliver a social calendar every month, or you've got to help with social strategy, and you're like,
yeah,
what are you going to talk about on social? Like,
yeah, but then also with marketing, you know, you get a lot of people coming to you saying, right, no, I need marketing, go, and you're like, oh god, like, yeah, this depends on so many things. So yeah, and I actually thought I might get a bit bored of copywriting because it became all the projects I was doing, and I didn't really. I suppose to some extent I did start missing, you know, I love business, and I realized I did have this, you know, really sort of passionate about marketing and good marketing, and I suppose I did miss kind of delivering that in some respects. So I think what I did was sort of start doing it for myself. And yeah, most of my clients were in travel and hospitality. So this time last year, I lost a lot of clients, or you know, work dried up. And yeah, I kind of sort of thought about that. I thought actually last year was a really good time to be doing marketing, because, you know, like email send rates dropped right off. Like, you know, I just thought it was a really good time to kind of to prove that you weren't just marketing to make instant sales and things like that. And I sort of thought, I had this kind of, I guess, like moment of thinking, oh my god, well, moment like 3 months of thinking, oh god, I don't have many clients, and then sort of thinking, oh, I don't have many clients, what could I do?
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously financially it was like kind of stressful at some points, but yeah, just started making my own things and thought, well, like, you know, if I genuinely do believe that this is a good time to be marketing and companies should be doing it, and that, you know, I'm not really getting clients, then I'll just damn well do it for myself.
Yeah.
And actually, so Angela and I had made a magazine, well, we'd made a lot of magazines for clients together. So yeah, we used to make a magazine for a big hotel group, and it used to go in there, and it was kind of focused on things going on around London, but also all of the different hotels. So how it came about was I started making marketing courses, and I was thinking, right, well, there's two target markets I probably know a lot about. One of those is kind of travel and hospitality, and one of those is probably freelancers and small business. And you know, travel and hospitality, you know, I just decided that that probably wasn't the right route to go down, and that probably wouldn't be a shortage of freelancers. And it was just kind of playing around and starting to create things. And I just thought, oh, actually then what happened was, as the client work started to come back a bit, and people, you know, I had things to talk about. So even if I wasn't selling loads of courses, it was still giving me like a way to get my name out there. And but I sort of decided that I would just keep, you know, what we should all probably do, like kind of just keep my best clients and my least stressful clients, and not take on other clients, and actually spend that time continuing to make my own things, which was the courses. And then I was just thinking about how I could keep creating content for them and keep getting myself out there, and that's how I came up with the idea for the magazine, which was actually kind of was when I was trying to think about how to like market the courses. But I was like, oh my god, there isn't a Freelancer magazine. I don't think, like a print mag. And because I knew Ange and I had made magazines together before, I knew that, you know, we could make it. So that's kind of how it came about. I kind of wasn't a journalist, wasn't a writer, until I, you know, I've just kind of given myself all these job titles.
I feel like that's so common in content and copywriting and marketing in general. Like, it's quite rare that you meet someone who has studied marketing at uni, goes on to do it, and then becomes a marketing manager, becomes a freelancer. Like,
I think a lot of people in marketing studied something completely different too.
They're usually like I always used to say, like, it's where marketing and design is like where the creatives go to die. Like, go to make money that they need to make in order to survive, because, you know, like a lot of people will fall into these corporate roles in-house and realize that, like, graphic design in-house is not as creative as you kind of think it's going to be when you're 19 and you go and study or something. So
you can only like slap a logo and a brand image on a like a resized header of the same thing.
That's what I think I found that in corporate. I probably didn't know it at the time, you know, but there isn't really that you know, you don't really have that motivation to keep learning, because there's only so many ways that you can really apply your knowledge when, you know, there's tight brand guidelines, or when there's X levels of, you know, management for decisions to go through. You know, it kind of, I didn't really find that kind of really appeals to people that want to be creative, does it? And so I don't know, I suppose after leaving to go freelance, then you sort of rediscover that hunger for, you know, wanting to keep learning, and because you have to, right? Because people look to you as the expert, and whereas when you're employed, you're in quite a safe space.
Definitely. I think it's like the freedom of when you've got your, obviously you're working on client stuff and you still have to, you know, adhere to their kind of guidelines or whatever, but when you've got your own brand as well, and like what you've done, obviously you've gone and you've decided, right, I'm going to do this with my brand now, and we've got like our brand, and we're like, right, we're going to do a podcast, and you just don't answer to anyone other than yourself. And you think, you know, if I want to say this thing on social media, or if I want to change this, any, you know, typeface, like you can kind of do, if I want to test out a mini version of this course, I can kind of do what you want, because you got the freedom with your own brand to do whatever you want, really. And that's like the ultimate creativity, I think, for somebody that works in marketing, is to have their own brand to market, isn't it?
I think you know, you hear a lot of time, and I'm not saying this isn't hard, but you hear like a lot of people saying, oh, the hardest thing to do is to market yourself, like particularly freelancers. And, you know, I've definitely felt that as well. But then if you kind of reframe that and think, God, well, I don't have to get client sign off. You know, I can do whatever I want. And it's more probably like the whole like comfortable with being uncomfortable thing, isn't it? And just realizing that it doesn't really matter if it fails, like you've still done it, you know, or, you know, just, like just the joy of trying different things without having that expectation that there's going to be a certain outcome, or it's going to be successful, or, you know, putting that pressure on yourself that X looks like success. I think that can be, you know, getting to that point in your business where you do realize that you have that freedom.
And like the content itself, or the, you know, your strategy itself can be anything. Like, you, just because you're a copywriter, you don't have to just write loads of blogs about how to write better copy. You know, you can you can create content about anything, and then just to show that you create content. Or I think it's just the subjects that, you know, that I write about, or the subjects of this podcast, or sometimes a potential client will see this and they're in a completely different space, but they'll be like, oh, I saw your podcast, and like it, you know, it's got no relevance really to their business, but they just feel like it's this adage of, you know, people work with people, and they're like, oh, that's the sort of person that I want to work with, even though they're talking about freelancing and I'm a corporate. It's just that
I find it hard sometimes to like personally. I think it's a challenge to like balance the will to do any work to market yourself against like needing to do client work that pays money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I find it hard to justify like doing something to market us because I feel like I'm already busy like with client stuff. Again, when I'm not doing client stuff, I just want to kind of relax and enjoy my own time. But
it's the accountability of your own marketing that like I'm probably more motivated at that than you, but like just because not like just
you just keep us on track, really.
I just like to create stuff, whereas you would probably be like, okay, if I asked you to create a landing page, you would, but I would probably go off and do it on my own. But then also I'd probably do it, and you'd be doing client work, and I'd be doing our own work.
Yeah.
So it's just like I
think now you've got like things like this, right? Like it starts to look after itself, doesn't it? Like you've got the podcast, you've got the newsletter, and I think that's another thing about marketing yourself is like, if you don't want to be shouting about this is what I do, don't tell people, show people what you can do, or show people that. I think the nature of, even if people don't want you to, design a podcast for them or write a newsletter for them, I think just the fact that you show that you kind of have those skills and you commit to these things and, like actually goes like so much further than, saying, does anyone want to use our company for this?
Exactly, like, and I feel like people know you as well. Like
exactly.
I definitely feel like that with you. And we've had Katie on, and I felt like I knew Katie so well, even though I'd only had a couple of calls with her. And it's just like these people that you feel like, and I had a call with Dee recently, and I was like, this is so weird because like it feels like we know each other so well, but we only chat on Discord or whatever.
Yeah, I think you've drawn a lot from like the freelance community. Like I think I'm probably just a bit too lazy to like interact enough, but like
I'm like, join the Content Club UK Twitter chat, and you're like
the Discord and stuff. I guess just to put us back on the track of questions.
Well, sorry. You keeping us on track, that is real.
Yeah.
ADHD.
So which like just then I sort of mentioned a challenge I have in terms of like freelancing and balancing client work and marketing ourselves. But what in your experience, like, because you're doing all of these courses, I apologize, this chair's so squeaky that I'm sitting on here. Every time I move, it's like
oh, well, just don't move then.
I live on a main road, so I don't know if you can hear. Yeah.
No, it's very quiet. Are you in London, by the way?
Yeah.
My question, I get back to it, is because you're doing all these courses and you're sort of involved in helping freelancers gain new skills, etc., what would you say like the average like freelancers' main challenges are, and do you have any tips for them?
Oh gosh, so God, there's things that just come up again and again, aren't there? And like marketing yourself, like not getting paid on time, like kind of scope creep.
Yeah.
What other ones are there that always
confidence and stuff? I don't know if that's. I think people are just lacking confidence in networking and stuff.
Yeah, I think scope creep goes with confidence quite well.
Yeah, actually saying to someone, look, this is getting out of hand.
I think it's just to make a quick point for any freelancers out there. In my experience, it's better to and correct me if I'm wrong, but to be confident enough to tell a client no is often better for like your relationship with the client anyway, because even if you sort of annoy them at the time, they'll respect that you've set boundaries.
It resets the balance. I think sometimes the weight between the client and the client and the freelancer can go, and the client can kind of turn into being like, you need me to pay your bills, and then actually just to reset that balance, even if it's fake and you do actually need them to pay your bills, you just kind of get that fake confidence and just say, actually, I'm not going to do that article for 20 quid. These are the rates. And I always encourage people to use like pro copywriters data and stuff. So if people come back and say, that's too expensive, say, well, actually, I think you'll find that this is the average rate, or this is slightly below what's average in the UK. And putting a bit of like data in there, it helps people to like rephrase, like that helps the client to be like, oh, okay, this person's actually a serious business person and not just.
I also think it's really helpful to have those conversations like quite early on, and and I'm sort of still learning and sort of still getting all these things from giving advice to other people, and actually, like I said, like from being busier with the courses in the magazine, it's actually, so for instance, the other day, for the first time ever, I someone went to book a workshop in with me, and I just thought, I can't kind of risk this moving or not getting paid, or because I'm just really busy at the moment. So I just said, look, before I book the date in, I want to be paid up front. And they were just like, yeah, cool, that's fine. And it's just these things that after I've been freelancing 8 years now, and I've never kind of had the confidence to ask to be paid up front. And it's kind of these assumptions that we put on ourselves as well. And I suppose it probably took me a few years to be confident to have the money conversation, and then really realize that actually, if you're not having that, or if a client is not, I would never not pay someone, right? Or I would never, if I was getting someone to do something, I would never not have that money conversation up front. And like you say, Craig, like, it just set, there really should be alarm bells ringing, and it's better that you don't go further if someone isn't willing to kind of understand that, has to be a scope, and there has to be, there has to be payment. And so I think, and what the best piece of advice I really do have to give, and something that I wasn't really part of until probably 3 or so years ago, is to like, in whichever way it suits you, become part of some communities or talk to other people, because I just think that we just have no kind of context otherwise, right? Of like, you can just sit there and work on your own and just think, oh well, everyone's waiting 60 days to get paid, or everyone, and sometimes it is great for other people to go, oh god, my client's a bit of a nightmare like that too. But I just think these support networks are just so important, just for sharing knowledge, for like, especially now, not being isolated. I would just say, as confident as you can be, and just really working on building your confidence as well, and resilience. And we never notice how we've improved, do we? You only kind of notice the things that we aren't good at. But I mean, say for me today, like, this is the 3rd podcast I've been on, and I was like really trying to remember before, like, this is the first time I haven't felt terrified beforehand. So I was like, oh well, you've got to like be pleased about that. Like, that's a big step. Like,
although it's funny to consider you would ever be terrified of coming on with us two weirdos, man.
I just need to start the camera again.
Oh yeah.
I did, I was really like, it is just a really nice, like, I'm really, we've never chatted properly, and it was just, but I still, like, I would have been terrified a month ago. And like, so I have my first like live speaking things coming up, and I'm absolutely terrified. But then it's like, you're not going to be good at things the first time you do them. Apologies to anyone that might see one of the first live speaking things that I do. And also, I decided to write a print magazine for a reason. Like, I'm marginally better at writing than I am at speaking. But
you'll be really good. I think, like, as a kid I did drama. Like, I wasn't like huge in it or anything, but I did it up to like AS level, I think. And I had to do a few performances like in theaters and stuff. And like, I always thought that what helped me, and I don't know if it'll help you, is to just consider the fact that everybody in there has come to see you. You know what I mean? Especially when you're live speaking at like a marketing event, they've chosen to be there to come and see you. So like, their judgment is, they're going to have a really high bar for you letting them down. Like, it's hard to let them down, because like, if they're booked on to come and see you talk at an event, they're going to know, like, they've got an expectation of like,
I'm not sure that's made me feel any better, Craig.
No, it's like,
everyone is there.
But what I mean is like, what I mean by that is like,
no.
Those people
they want you to do well.
Have a vested interest in you doing well, so they're not, For instance, I went to see the comedian James Acaster, who I love.
Oh my god, I love him.
And
so
it was at a gig in like Newcastle, and he was making like a joke about how like Newcastle, like people in Newcastle are always so like ridiculously overconfident, and some guy was like being a bit like stupid with him, and he like stood up and did this and all that stuff, and you could tell that it really bothered James, because he doesn't like that kind of thing. But then everyone else in the audience is like, it's the show's going wrong, but we're all still on James's side because we're there to see him.
The dogs just run up the stairs.
And I think that'll be the case with any live event you do. You know, you could mess up horribly, and nobody's gonna be like, oh god, I can't.
If anything, people feel like bad for you when things go wrong. Like if things ever do go wrong, like you say, like the whole audience were just like feeling guilty about feeling like that. They wanted to disassociate from that guy. Who, like heckling James and he's talked about it since, and how like traumatic he doesn't really like the North. I think he feels like a lot of them are a bit leery. But yeah, anyway, the dogs have just run upstairs, so that's a good segue into Craig's desperate to ask about Rusty.
Oh yeah, I do want to ask about Rusty. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought we might be talking about dogs for but I think just on that point, and I do want to talk about dogs, but I just think what I think is like, which is so helpful in like freelancing or anything you do, is to like hold yourself, almost like try and hold yourself to the same standard that you would hold to other people. So like if you would go and see a live event and someone made a bit of an error, if you wouldn't be like pointing and laughing, which obviously you wouldn't, you know, then don't expect people to do that to you. You know, and the same way, like if you would expect to pay somebody fairly and all this, then make sure you make people do that for you. You know, we all kind of like change our, you know, like
he's changes standards for yourself, don't you? It's like
in a bad way, like
exactly. It's like even in classic like CBT, like they'll say like if you spoke to any of your friends in the same way that you speak to yourself, you would have no friends.
Yeah
because like you're always your own worst like critic, because
the internal poison parrot.
You always kind of like negative affirmations. I always think like people tell you to make positive affirmations and it feels a bit woo-woo to kind of be like, oh, I want, you know, this, but actually constantly we just make negative affirmations about ourselves, and we don't think that's kind of Rusty.
I think that's the thing about I still want to quickly talk about this because it's an issue I wanted to talk about, and it seems like a good chance to. I think it's something about like cultural Britishness is like we are like pessimists by nature.
It's definitely British.
You know, like for instance, if you go and watch an American marketing event, there's live speakers at that event. They come out and they're like, "Hey guys, like yeah," and they're like, as soon as someone does that in England, the audience's attitude is like, this guy is like fake, like it's inauthentic. Like I think a good thing about being British is that we like honesty, and we like to see people like level with you, and like if you can buy into that, like honest, like, you know, if someone's a speaker and they seem like another human, I think that it, one, makes you like way more forgiving if we make any mistakes, and two, just makes them, you know, more interesting to you. And I don't know if that's
also probably a tall poppy thing, because I think people in the UK compared to people in the US maybe like they like to tear people down, and not in like a public setting, but like if you turn out there and you're like all big and all confident, like in a Tony Robbins style.
I just think it's fake. Like it doesn't work in it. Like,
do you think it's just we're more skeptical?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what do you think? Maybe it's like just a northern thing, but
I think I mean, like I think we go too far the other way though, don't we? Like I love, like I'm a huge self-deprecation fan, and I'm a huge laughing at myself. Like I'd love, you know, if I mess anything up, like let's go and have a laugh about it. You know?
There are no, especially between just the two of us, there are like no lines, and like our closest friends, we laugh about pretty much everything.
Probably explains why I love Peep Show so much.
Some of the most like traumatic things that have happened in my life and are happening, and different things we and our closest friends just like always joke about. And I think sometimes other people who are not as close to us are like
I think it can be a bad thing, because it sometimes, to me, it's almost like enthusiasm, like having a lot of enthusiasm can be like something everyone else looks like sneers at you for, if you get what I mean. Like you almost get
talking back about like the positive, like the speaker who's
like we love the underdog, don't we?
I think so. I don't know.
I think there's somewhere, you know, I definitely we kind of a bit derogatory about the Americans, aren't we? I guess we find it quite like, and you know, I guess the same that, you know, when I go to America sometimes and the service feels very over the top, you know, people go, oh, the service is incredible, and I'm kind of like, oh, sometimes we're so used to our British service, like you'd almost rather someone was like not smiling, but if you felt like, you know, I'm a big good service fan, like having worked in hospitality, but and I don't want someone to come over to me and go, oh, I'm having a terrible day, but you know, at the same time, you don't want jazz hands, do you? But like yeah, it's difficult. It's really difficult for us in our culture to know whether that is genuine or not. It kind of like sets up, but I don't know. I think there are probably lots of things we can learn off the Americans too. In like, I don't know, this is sort of another point, but I heard something the other day I found really interesting, and it kind of spurred me on, which was like, in the UK, like there's such better kind of support networks and like finance and the, you know, and like welfare, but there's such a kind of less of a startup culture here. And in America, there, you know, I know it is all the American dream, but it kind of really kind of made me think, yeah, it's weird. They were sort of saying that in America, they don't really have any of that, but so many people take kind of so many more risks and sort of go for it more.
Like the attitude towards starting a business, especially, well, I don't know, because obviously it might be similar down south, but like up north, we like, when I first went freelance, like 2 years ago, like everyone was like, oh, should be doing that, are you? Like,
you're gonna have a side job.
And then like people had said to me, close friends and family had said, why don't you get a job on the side? How are you going to do this? You know that when you start a business, people don't pay you on time. No one's going to pay you on time. Like, you know, like they were immediately kind of just being like that. Whereas in the US, obviously, the ultimate goal, the American dream, is to run your own, you know, often is to be Gary Vee, run your own business, like that. That's seen. Whereas here, it's still, I think over here, the stable job, it's changing, but the stable job is more like highly sought after than the business. Like,
I think it depends on your industry, like because we're in the north, like there's a lot of like self-employment in like the construction industry.
Oh yeah, like big. Contractors is very different there.
But like I think if you're gonna go into an office, like the big goal is to be seen as like, you know, like a manager in like a fancy company with a company car.
Yeah,
like, you know,
it's pretty much, if you leave a big corporate job to, well, like Craig left an agency where he was the head of content to work for me, well, with me, like, and, you know, share the business. That was like I still think a lot of people were just like, you're doing that, are you? Even though I had already, you know, even though we already knew we could do it.
Yeah,
it's almost like your assumption would have been that Craig had been put on furlough and then made redundant, and then like coming to join me was like, should we do it? But in reality, you'd actually quit your job.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about like a pay rise and stuff when I left, but I just didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to try it out. Okay, sorry, we've just talked a lot about ourselves, Sophie.
No, not at all. You are like, God.
Tell us about Rusty, because we're obviously, the dogs are super important to us.
Yeah, I'll try and. So Rusty, I'll try and get him over. Yeah, so
it's quite novel to have a dog that actually responds to the name.
I know.
Cares.
One of the reasons I went freelance was, where is he? To get him, really, to be honest, though you can't see his face.
What breed is he, or is he like a mix?
Yeah, he's a mix. So our best guess is probably like Staffy Ridgeback.
Ridgeback. I was gonna say looks like a Ridgeback.
Yeah, he looks like a big boy.
Yeah, so one of the main motivations for going freelance was to get a dog.
Same.
Yeah, and I got him, so I've had him kind of 8 years in June. Yeah, went to Battersea, we're always going to rescue. And we lived in this flat, so we've just moved back to this flat actually, but we lived in this flat at the time. So went to Battersea and thought, we won't get the first dog we see, we will get a small dog. Neither of us had ever owned a dog before, so we wanted something quite, you know, manageable.
Sounds like a similar story to us.
Yeah, I heard your story. And yeah, saw Rusty. He was like the Tasmanian devil. He was like, and yeah, we took him, and actually he wasn't good with other dogs. He's a lot better now, but actually really the first, you know, I'm loath to say this because, you know, you guys will feel the same, that I don't want to put people off getting rescue dogs. And if we'd known a bit more about dogs, we probably wouldn't have got him.
I think that's
like, we would have chosen our rescue dog more carefully.
Yeah, but I think that's like one of the good things about rescue dogs as well, is that, like, especially if you get one from not having had a dog before, like me and Ellen got one with no expectations, and like there's been some real challenges, like with Potter and stuff.
Mostly with Potter, yeah.
But the stuff we've learned from like, I think what's good about it is that it teaches you that a dog isn't just like a thing you can put in the corner and call a pet, and like, you know, it's like a living, breathing creature that has its own personality that like you have to learn around just as much as it has to learn you.
Definitely. Like we got a dog trainer in who was really good. Like we had to be militant with training him because he was
How old was he when you got him?
We don't know. He was found tied up in Brixton, and he kind of had like some scars on him and things like that. And he would sit, and he was like, you know, and
so he's been a pet possibly.
He just wasn't good with other dogs at all, and would be really aggressive. He had really bad like separation anxiety, you know, and so we still like, we're a bit more lax now because I guess it's the natural thing that happens, but we were militant about kind of training him and like, you know, making him heel. Like we would, you know, it'd take us an hour to walk around the block because we would change direction every time he got in front of us. And but it was a really good learning thing for us, you know, especially like we would always rescue. And I also think that we were the best people for him, right? Like we wouldn't have got him probably if we knew how difficult it would have been, but then, you know, you just do it. And actually, you know, we got through it, and he's the most incredible dog. Like he's always been great with humans and everything like that. It's just like we can't really take him off the lead.
It sounds exactly
even
like
now.
I mean, Potter's 100% a human's dog. Like he's a care home, like approved, like visiting dog. Like he's amazing. And you know, children can like basically poke him in the eye and he just does nothing. But then certain other dogs, and there's no consistency. Like you'll see, and it can be the same dog on the same walk. Like we're going the opposite way. We'll see this mini pincher that lives near here. He gives him a look. He's not bothered. And then he walks up again 5 minutes later, and he wants to kill him. And I'm like, what's going on? Like there's no consistency. And like, so exactly the same. He can't be off the lead because he's obviously, with him being a greyhound, he used to be when there was just the three of us, me, Craig and Potter, and two of us were there on the beach, and we had like all the preparation. But he just betrayed our trust too many times, and he's too fast, and he's so unbelievably fast, and he just doesn't give a shit. Like he will go and live with another family tomorrow. Like it honestly, it doesn't.
I think that's
no
the
loyalty.
hard part about Potter is the aloofness. Like I need to know that my dog like loves me more than anyone else,
which Harmony
does. And Potter, like Ellen says, he could just go and live with another family tomorrow. But when I'm talking about learning and stuff, like it just shows how, you know, like it's kind of like that makes me re-challenge my own conception of like, really I shouldn't need him to need me. Like he's had his own hard life, and his racing days shaped him,
and when he lived with the family and stuff.
So it's no surprise that he's like that, because to him, he has already lived with like 3 other different people, and like he probably does think like, oh, I could just, you know, live.
Well, hopefully he doesn't now. I think
he's pretty content there. He's just lying down, chilling in the hallway.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say he doesn't have separation anxiety, because he does.
Oh, he cries like a banshee when Ellen goes out.
Yeah, pretty bad.
And when I go out as well.
Yeah, he does cry for you as well. Yeah.
But it's getting a dog, I think, is a good bonus to being freelance, isn't it? I mean, probably the main reason I quit my job because we just got Harmony, and I was like really enjoying like being in the house when I started working remotely, and I knew that wouldn't continue in my agency. So I thought,
so it'd make you go back, and you wanted to be.
I wanted to just stay at home because I love being with the dogs.
Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? It's like in I don't know, just to have them there the whole time as well is like
the comfort, obviously. And then if a bad day I think it's like the consistency and the comfort that they provide. Like,
it's like your little shadow, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, Harmony is just so close all the time.
Do you own that flat, or do you rent, Sophie? Just out of curiosity.
We own it. Yeah.
I was going to say, because it must be hard in London to maybe get dogs, because up here most landlords don't let you have dogs.
Just recently changed it so that
so we've just moved back here. My husband, me and my husband have been together about 12 years, and he actually owned this place before we met. And then we lived here together for a bit, and then we went traveling for a bit, and then we moved to Somerset, And then we wanted to move back to London, like for his work as well. And obviously it kind of made sense for us to move back because we had this flat, we'd been renting it out. But yeah, we had to rent for a year because we couldn't get our tenant to leave. And we just pretended, we just didn't tell them we had a dog. And which was fine. And until they were
short hair dog as well, isn't it? You know,
yeah, and it was fine until we told them we were going to leave, and then they were coming around for the viewings, and it was lockdown. Oh God, I was like putting him in the car and like, you know, like bowls, bed, toys.
Before I bought this house, we had just Potter in a tiny studio flat, and it was before the pandemic, but my dad lived around the corner, and my dad would be in the pub most of the time, not in his house, almost always in the pub. And I'd be like, are you in the pub? I'm bringing Potter. And I would just like take Potter to the pub, and then the guy would come and do the viewing, and then I'd go back and get, shove the bed in the wardrobe. And like, because they're big dogs, you know, the bed's quite big, like the number of things, like luckily the hair wasn't really a problem, although Harmony is a hairy little like short haired girl, but Potter doesn't have any hair on him.
Yeah.
Poor boy.
He's dreaming.
And luckily Rusty, as you have discovered, has the loudest bark ever. But luckily it only really barks when the doorbell goes. So yeah, I think in London as well, because I think when we first moved back into this flat, and the neighbours were a bit like, oh, you've got a dog. And we're like, and obviously you hear him bark a few times, you're like, oh God. But yeah, I think it's, you know, as long as that is only for like 5 or 10 seconds, and then people don't really mind, do they? It's more like if you go out and they don't stop barking.
I'm just thinking about how our next door neighbour's dogs just bark all day.
Because he goes out for 12 hours and leaves his dogs at home, and they just bark all day. Yeah.
Needs to do separation anxiety training.
Well, he needs to get someone in to walk his dogs.
I've got two more questions that I might as well rattle through.
I might have to. Right, the camera's going to go off soon, so.
Well, a quick one is just why print for Freelancer Magazine when obviously like these days people often say print's dead, blah blah blah. What made you choose?
We don't think print's dead.
No, I like print. I like a glossy print.
Yeah, it was just differentiation, really. I suppose, like I said, I was kind of like thinking about what to do, and I suppose it's just that thing as well where you don't realise when I was employed, you know, I guess the things I enjoyed working on most were like brochures and you know, and I guess because we moved into such a digital age, you know, you don't think of your own experience like that, do you? You don't really think of like, you know, I never thought that actually kind of writing brochure copy or writing copy was like a skill. It was just like, oh, it's just something I like doing and it's just a brochure. But I suppose it's almost come around full circle now and been like, oh, actually, that probably was a skill, or that probably was like something that I liked. But yeah, it was really, man, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose to kind of think about doing a magazine and then put it online just felt like a blog essentially. So it was really down to differentiation, but also, I just thought it'd be cool for people to like get it through their post boxes and to have that physical thing. And I suppose I felt like I would probably read it more if it was physical than if it was digital.
You were quite excited. You were excited the day it came through the post.
I was, because everyone was getting it on Instagram, and I was like, our postman doesn't come till quite late in the day.
I think it harkens back to like this new world of as well, like, you know, like limited edition sneaker drops, and people like a good physical piece
it's a high quality item.
Like to collect. I think collections. So. I think it was a good idea to do it. Print. It's nice.
I need to start have promised to as soon as we make a profit to review the carbon footprint. Not that carbon footprint is completely eradicated when you're digital, is it? But yeah, I do. And also I think, you know, you think about it because it's paper, don't you, a bit more than if you set up like a shop or something, which also would have a carbon footprint. But yeah, definitely something that I will be looking at more.
Yeah, I mean, there's even like, if you struggle to change things in the supply chain, there's like there's businesses that you do like carbon offsetting and stuff.
I did get sent a contact for that. I have got it on Twitter, I'm sure I have, because I was thinking about a charity element, and then Kickstarter didn't allow you to do any kind of charitable. You can't say when you do a Kickstarter that you were going to do any that any of the money would go to charity. So I was like, oh, it was kind of good. But I didn't think, do that. But yeah, I was like, I probably should also start making some like a profit first.
Right, start the camera again because it's going to go off and then I have your question. Your last question. Whoops.
My last question. Okay, back. So the last question that I have for you is on the website. I was noticing that you're part of like a sunrise club.
I've done it. Have you not seen me do? You're in bed.
Yeah, well, I'm in bed. So the reason I ask you about it is because I'm a terrible, terrible morning person. I absolutely hate the morning, and the idea of getting up at sunrise makes me not happy. Although I do often seem to be up lately at sunrise because of Potter crying.
Potter screams every morning when he wakes up.
But just tell me more about that, like, like how you find it and what you think the value of like getting up at sunrise is for you.
So don't join next month, Craig, because it's the earliest one of the year. I think it's in the threes. Or first light is in the threes. We're thinking of doing an all-nighter.
I don't think I've done one since January or February, because then it became past, like, Potter gets up at about 6:30. So if it's before 6:30,
get me in like December when it's like 9 a.m.
Yeah, I tell you what. So I was waking up quite early last year anyway. Like, I think just I had lots of things on my mind. Like I've always slept quite well, bar maybe the last couple of weeks when I've just like magazine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always sleep quite well. My husband goes to bed quite early, so I would naturally go to bed quite late. But I think I've tried, we would just be on completely different time scales otherwise, because he gets up at like 5:45 and I get up at like 7:30 normally now. But yeah, at the time I was waking up quite early last year. And I just sort of had the idea of it. I think actually we started in about October, which was like quite a good month to start because it was at about 6:30. And I'll tell you the weird thing that's happened for me is like, it was obviously designed, like, it was more designed to just like for something people could do together. So like the strap line is we rise together. So it was just like, it's only once a month. So I was sort of thinking, I mean, unless it is at like 4 or 5 o'clock, and it is, and the last two have been bank holidays. Like I didn't do the last one, but the weird thing for me was that I did it, and me having my personality was like, yeah, I'm going to get up and I have to be outside and have to like run to the top of a hill and, then be there for sunrise. And everyone else was kind of like, not everyone else, but there was a real mix of people being like, oh, I just got up and I stayed in bed and I read a book.
Yeah.
And actually it kind of had the opposite effect on me than I thought it was going to have, because I thought like, everyone would be getting up and like, going out for a run or something. And everyone was like, oh, I just got up and lit a candle. And, and then people weren't doing it like consecutive months. People were doing, and obviously I didn't mind. I was never like, everyone has to do it every month. But then it kind of made me feel like, well, maybe I don't have to go up and and run to the top of a hill and get up every month. I missed last month. And like, actually the weird thing is, it kind of chilled me out more than like kind of making think, oh, I need to get up at 6:30 every day and start work. It's like, just get up when you want early. And sometimes
I think there's probably a lesson in there about like freelancing in general, isn't there? Like, you can kind of start your day around your like what works best for you.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it's kind of like, people do it on different days as well. Like it's some people sometimes, and but yeah, it will continue, and yeah, there's rumors of an all-nighter for the next one. So
Ellen's volunteered herself for it.
What? It's a joke because I'm like the worst.
Ellen's usually asleep by about 9 o'clock at night.
I'm an early to bed, early riser, but like not that early. Whereas you're like a late to bed, late riser. You got like a delayed sleep cycle with your ADHD. So it's like now we have a medical reason.
I like to stay up late and sleep in late, basically.
Yeah. Which I think has helped with Freelancer now. You can kind of work around. Sometimes I'll finish work at like 4 and you're like still working until like 6. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you working? But then I realize that like you didn't start till 11 or something. So it's kind of, you're doing the same as me, just doing it delayed. And that's one of the main benefits of freelancing, I think, is just doing the things the way you want to do them. And you still get them done. So why does it matter if you start at 11 or why does it matter if you take a day off? Like there's no rule.
Yeah.
I'm going to start lighting a candle and going back to bed.
Oh, good luck going back to bed with Potter screaming.
True.
Like he did this morning.
That's true. Does Rusty scream to get up in the morning?
No, he's chilled. He's like,
I don't think anybody screams like Potter. And I don't just mean like crying a little bit. I mean, like it's like as if the worst, he's undergoing like the worst abuse.
Yeah.
He wakes up in the morning and he chooses scream as his emotion. He stands at the bedroom door and screams to be let out. But there's so many stupid things because you can't let him out because she goes out and she will away somewhere, and there's a lot of the two of them.
Politics.
There's an equilibrium that we must maintain with Harmony's strict routine of toilets, because she's still like, we've had it over a year now, but she's still, I wouldn't trust her to just roam the house.
No. So that's something to consider if you're ever getting a second dog.
I know, I think that's weird, isn't it? Because there were some things that were really difficult, and other things, like even like certain things, like I've heard people's dogs get really car sick, and I just thought, and I just thought, God, I just don't know how we would cope. Like actually being, keeping on the lead is easier than if he puked every time we went in the car. And actually he's never been destructive at all. Like he weed a couple of times when we first got him, but like not really. And I guess that's stuff. It's all stuff like that again, though, right? If people told you stuff like that before you got a dog, like, oh, it's going to wee over your house, you'd be like, right, I'm not getting a dog. But when you have a dog and it does it, you just deal with it, right? That's just like
exactly. Rusty sounds like Rusty and Potter sound like two of the same kind, don't they?
They probably absolutely hate each other.
Yeah, Potter probably would. Potter's pretty bad with boy dogs, especially. He only really is guaranteed to like an old female dog or puppies. He loves puppies. Because
he loves puppies.
Because I think he's like, there's no threat to the alpha-ness when his puppies. He's just like, I am like Daddy Potter. We literally call him that because we've got like friends with puppies. Like quite a lot of my friends, all my friends have got young dogs. Like we're the only ones with older dogs. And like Potter just goes in there and just, he goes in. He can't obviously not off the leader, but if he's in the house or something with them, he just lets him jump all over him, and that he loves it. But then if one of them had another dog the same age as him, like a Labrador or something, he would be like a 4-year-old male Labrador. That would be like the worst. There would just be like a fight for who's the boss.
Yeah, Rusty. Yeah, do you know what? He would have used to have gone for 99% of dogs. If you're driving past a dog on the other side of the road, he would have gone gone crazy in the car. And now will be able to walk past 99% of dogs. He'll be like, and again, like we've had him 8 years, and another great thing is he is so food motivated. So we've literally just had to like pop treats in his mouth every time we've seen a dog, and like eventually it's just become so much easier. But yeah, that thing where it's just not work, like it really ruins your day if you let them off the leads and something goes wrong. So it's just,
I think just for us, it's like we go out with our friends. All of our friends have got puppies or young dogs under a year old. Some of them are from like pure breeds from breeders or whatever, and some of them are rescues, but they're all young. And Harmony is okay with them. She can play off the lead, but Potter just can't be off the lead. And they're all like playing, and Potter's like, when you go to like a kid's birthday party and your kid's like the naughty one that can't play with the others, and you're like having to tell them off at the side of the soft play because so he's like on the leader, but he's just like jumping and barking because it's like stressing him out that Harmony's allowed to play and he's not. But like there's nothing that we can do about it because he's not allowed to play because he's aggressive, and even if with his muzzle on he runs away. So like he's not allowed.
Can't be trusted, Potter.
I know, he's just not allowed unless it's an enclosed field and it's like only a few people. He's okay. And also he hurt his leg, so he just runs like a stupid frog now anyway.
You can tell how much we're loving by how much we're just talking about him.
Absolutely. Absolutely roasting him.
I know. I think we should probably think about wrapping it up just because we
oh yeah, it's only 3,
yeah, we don't want to take too much of your time, so
no, don't be silly. It's been amazing.
And how he is.
Well, yeah, it was inevitable that we would just spend the next hour talking about dogs, wouldn't it? But yeah, thank you so much.
About them all day, I think, but I think like it's good that they help show you like different attributes of life, don't they? And like it relates to freelancing.
Yeah, and but also just forcing you to get out for that walk, I think, is just like, for me, not doing any exercise the last few months, but always having like at least, one long or like 2 medium walks a day. Oh God, I'm just so grateful for that. So yeah, really good. And thank you for having me. And I was right not to feel nervous at all. It's been lovely.
It's very chill.
No, yeah. I wouldn't ever feel nervous. I mean, this is just a tiny little room.
This is just this room in the house.
Not exactly a professional.
Oh my god, no, it is.
We're trying.
It's amazing.
Maybe someday we'll get like a cool
Podcast studio, yeah.
When we're
Oh, it looks like a podcast studio.
Not quite.
No, thanks again for
thank
being on. And I'm gonna have to read the magazine. I haven't read it yet. I'll read it.
It's by the bed.
Yeah, and join Content Club.
That requires interaction. Okay.
You can live you can live vicariously through Erling, can't you? That's your thing at the moment.
Yeah,
like
pretty much, yeah. I'm like,
you must get like all the
you do chat in the Discord sometimes, don't you?
But like, yeah, you must, I don't know, with Si, like he kind of basically knows everyone now as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm always like, my Twitter friend.
Yeah, my Twitter friend.
And now it's like not really even my Twitter friend anymore. It's just like Ellen.
People I actually know. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
So, thank you very much, Sophie.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'll get this. Well, I'll send you it when it's live. Probably this week.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Thank
okay,
you.
thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.